episode of Campfire Frights. With trembling fingers, Emily clutched the worn chart, its aged paper whispering secrets, even before she unfolded it. Room 302, the vacant room at the end of the silent, shadowed wing. Yet, something, some unseen force, drew her there like a moth to a flame. Just another lonely night shift, she muttered, forcing a smile that felt brittle and unconvincing even in the darkness. But as she approached the room, a prickling sensation danced across her skin, raising gooseflesh beneath her starched uniform. The air grew thick, heavy with an unseen fog that sent shivers down her spine. Pushing open the creaking door, a blast of icy air assailed her, carrying the scent of dust and damp. The moonlight, struggling through grimy windows, painted pale stripes across the desolate chamber. Empty bed, eerie stillness. Yet, Emily couldn't shake the feeling she wasn't alone. "Mr. Thompson," her voice, a fragile echo in the tomb-like room. "Are you there?" Silence. But then, a whisper, barely audible, like leaves rustling in a dry wind. "Nurse?" It sent a jolt through her, a primal fear gnawing at her heart. She spun around, searching the shadows, her senses straining. "Who's there?" she demanded, her voice cracking. The only answer was the mournful groan of the wind whistling through the broken window panes. But in the corner of her eye, a flicker of movement, a fleeting wisp of something darker than the shadows. Night after night, the dance continued. Emily, drawn by an invisible thread, venturing into the spectral embrace of room 302. "Mr. Thompson," a voice in the darkness, a presence felt, but never seen. They shared tea and whispered conversations, Emily pouring her loneliness into the void, the entity offering solace in its ethereal way. One night, however, the whispers turned into chilling moans. The air crackled with unseen energy, the faint moonlight twisting into grotesque shapes on the walls. Emily, her fragile courage finally breaking, stumbled back, tripping over a fallen chair. "Please," she choked out, tears stinging her eyes. "Let me go." A cold hand, skeletal and translucent, grasped her wrist. A rasping voice, filled with sorrow and longing, whispered in her ear, "I need you, nurse. Don't leave me alone." Emily cried out, the sound swallowed by the hungry darkness. As the shadows closed in, a chilling realization dawned on her. Mr. Thompson wasn't alone. He wasn't a patient seeking comfort. He was a prisoner, tethered to the earthly realm by an unfinished task. And Emily, in her unwitting empathy, had become his anchor. The line between the living and the dead blurred in room 302, a chilling testament to the unseen ties that bind us, even in the face of oblivion. And as Emily screamed into the darkness, one thing was terrifyingly clear. Sometimes the greatest comfort can be the sweetest trap.
Picture this. At the heart of our renowned hospital, there's a room that's become the talk of hushed conversations and shivers down spines. They say it's cursed, and I found out the hard way. It's the operating room, the place where healing should happen, but something's not right. As a patient, I never paid much attention to the hospital's whispers until I found myself wheeled into that room. It felt different from the moment they wheeled me in, a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. The surgeons, confident and skilled, seemed on edge, and I caught glimpses of shadows that shouldn't be there. Maybe it was just my nerves, but deep down, I knew something was off. The procedure was supposed to be routine, But technical glitches plagued the equipment. Lights flickered, screens glitched, and the once sterile walls seemed to close in. The surgeons, usually in control, exchanged tense glances. I could sense their unease, like performers stumbling through a script rewritten by unseen hands. Then came the unexpected turn. My outcome, something they assured me was routine, took a dark and ominous twist. The room that should have been a haven transformed into a chamber of dread. It wasn't just me. Others had stories, hushed tales of the cursed operating room that echoed the fears in my own heart. The hospital, reluctant to admit to anything beyond the scientific, launched investigations. Yet each probe seemed to yield more questions than answers. The results offered no comfort, and the cursed operating room remained, an unsettling reminder of the fragile line between life and the unknown. So, here I am, sharing this tale. Brace yourselves, brave souls, as I take you on a journey into the haunting depths of our hospital's secrets. Step into the operating room with me, where the stage is set for a performance that defies the laws of medicine. Question with me the very nature of healing arts as we unravel the mysteries that linger within those walls.
As I lay there in my bed, tethered to the fragile thread of existence, a fellow patient named Samuel became the unwilling protagonist of a spectral drama. Ward 13, a place where time seemed to stretch and contract with every labored breath, took on an otherworldly presence. Samuel's journey was like a descent into the unknown, and I, a captive audience in this macabre theater, couldn't escape the shadows that danced along the edges of reality. Days turned into nights, and with each passing moment, the veil between the tangible and the ethereal grew thinner. Samuel's ordeal wasn't just his own. It became a collective experience for those of us who shared the ward. Nurses, the unsung heroes of this haunted realm, witnessed the unexplainable, shadows materializing, unworldly sounds echoing through dimly lit corridors, and a palpable chill that clawed at the very fabric of our sanity. Life on Ward 13 was no longer confined to the boundaries of the expected. It became a spectral symphony where the whispers of the departed entwined with the living. Samuel, nearing the end of his earthly sojourn, found himself beckoned by shadowy figures, and the thin line between life and death blurred into a surreal dance of the supernatural. So, here we are, fellow travelers of the unknown. Join me as we navigate the uncharted territories of life's final moments, where the air is thick with the mysteries that linger within the walls of Ward 13. It's a spine-tingling journey into the heart of the supernatural, and you're all invited to experience the haunting embrace that leaves an indelible mark on those who dare to tread its eerie corridors.
Gather round, you brave souls, and let me regale you with a tale that'll make your scalp tingle and your spine crawl. It's a story born in the sterile heart of a hospital, where scalpels gleam and life hangs by a thread, and where one day the impossible became all too real. I was a nurse back then, fresh-faced and naive, still clinging to the comforting illusion of doctors as omnipotent heroes. But that illusion shattered like a dropped scalpel the day Dr. Harlow vanished. He was a legend, mind you. Hands like a sculptor, mind like a chess master. He could navigate the human body like it was his own backyard. But on that Tuesday, amidst the sterile symphony of beeps and whispers, Harlow simply wasn't there anymore. 1 minute he was barking orders over his mask. The next his stool spun vacant, instruments clinking against the metal floor. We blinked, expecting him to reappear, like a magician's grand finale. But the silence stretched. thick and suffocating, broken only by the frantic blip of the patient's flatlining monitor. The air grew heavy, tinged with something metallic, like fear itself. We scoured the operating room, eyes darting over gleaming surfaces, hearts hammering against the cold porcelain walls. Security footage confirmed the nightmare. Harlow entered, but never left. He just evaporated. The hospital, once a place of healing, became a haunted house of whispers and speculation. Theories danced like dust motes in the sterile air. Was it some freak medical anomaly, a malfunction of the sterile field, or something darker, something that lurked in the unseen corners of this sterile world? The patient, of course, didn't make it. We chalked it up to complications, but in the hushed corners, we knew better. We knew he'd crossed a line, peeked into a chasm beyond our understanding, and paid the ultimate price. Even now, years later, the memory chills me. The operating room's sterile gleam mocks me, a constant reminder of that day the scalpel slipped, not on flesh, but on the fabric of reality itself. So gather close, intrepid souls, and let this tale be a chilling echo in your ears, a reminder that even in the most sterile spaces, the unknown waits, hungry and cold. Now tell me, who among you dares to ask, what really happened to Dr. Harlow?
All right, let's delve into the chilling tale of the poltergeist pharmacy, shall we? Gather round, those with a taste for the macabre, because I'm about to spin a yarn that'll make your prescriptions taste like bile. Picture this. You're a night janitor, mopping sterile floors under the harsh glare of fluorescence. The hospital sleeps, a hushed giant, except for one place, the pharmacy. It's there, amidst the sterile glass shelves and the rhythmic hum of IV machines, that the shadows twist and the air prickles with unseen eyes. I started noticing first with the pills. 1 minute they'd be lined up like obedient soldiers. The next they'd be waltzing across the counter, levitating in midair like spectral confetti. Bottles would crash, vials would shatter, all to the chilling soundtrack of their plastic casings scraping against the tiled floor. Then came the IV bags. Imagine those limp plastic ghosts swaying in a silent band, their fluid contents swirling like trapped souls. The antiseptic air, usually just a towel on the tongue, suddenly tasted metallic, thick with something else, like fear itself. But the real kicker, that was old Mrs. Abernathy, the pharmacist who shuffled off this mortal coil 5 years back. One graveyard shift, I swear I saw her, translucent as moonlight, restocking shelves and checking labels with phantom fingers. Her eyes, 2 milky pools in the spectral gloom, met mine for a split second, and let me tell you, chills ain't got nothing on that kind of cold dread. The higher-ups, of course, called it stress and equipment malfunction. They brought in their fancy gizmos, their meters and sensors, but they couldn't trap the ghosts in their sterile machines. The pharmacy remained a spectral playground, a place where logic took a holiday, and shadows waltzed to a rhythm only the dead could hear. So you see, folks, this ain't your grandma's hospital story. This ain't a bump in the night or a creaky floorboard. This is the pharmacy playing host to something unwanted, something that lingers in the sterile air, a whisper of the beyond in the heart of the healing machine. Now, the next time you need your meds and the fluorescent lights hum a little too loud, and the IV bags seem to sway just a tad too much, well, let's just say you might want to skip the pharmacy after dark. Unless, of course, you're brave enough to dance with the ghosts of prescriptions past. Remember, the scariest stories are the ones that lurk in the most mundane places.
All right, you mamas with a thirst for chills, huddle in. Let me paint you a picture with words. A nightmare in a place where life begins. Primrose Wing. It wasn't always shrouded in whispers, mind you. I delivered babies there, saw them breach, frown, and shriek their way into the world, enough to wallpaper a nursery with wonder. But then, the lullabies started. Tiny cries echoing empty halls, spectral coos bouncing off sterile walls. We blamed sleep-deprived mamas, conjuring lullabies from the ventilator's hum. Then came the sightings. Nurses from another era, crisp starched uniforms whispering past, cradling phantom bundles in spectral arms, rocking, humming forgotten lullabies that chilled your bones. Sorrowful eyes like moonlit pools, vanishing just as they met yours. One night it was me. Fresh mom beaming, babe bawling, and then, there she was. Faded white uniform, empty bassinet rocking back and forth. Grief oozed from her, thick as air, wrapping around me like icy fingers. I spun, heart thundering, but she was gone. Just the monitor's beep and the gurgling babe. Yet her silent sobs, they lingered. Primrose Wing became a haunted house, mothers clutching their newborns, joy laced with morbid fear. We never found the source, the lost mothers bound to their heartbreak. Were they whispers of the past, or something more sinister? The lullabies still chill me, a reminder that even where life blooms, loss casts a shadow. So mamas, next time you hear that strange coo or glimpse of faded uniform, remember my tale. It's a lullaby of the past, and it can haunt even the brightest beginnings.
The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting in sterile sheen on the stainless steel gurney where my patient lay still. Sarah, a wisp of a woman with eyes wide with trepidation, was about to undergo her first MRI scan. I offered her a reassuring smile, the practiced kind that doctors wear like armor against the unspoken anxieties of their patients. "Just a routine scan, Sarah," I soothed, my voice clipped in the sterile air. "Nothing to worry about." But as I helped her into the machine, a prickle of unease ran down my spine. The air felt thick, charged with an unseen electricity. The usual low hum of the MRI seemed laced with a deeper tremor, a bass note of disquiet that vibrated in my bones. Sarah squeezed my hand, her knuckles white. "Is it always this cold?" she whispered, her voice barely audible above the machine's rhythmic thrumming. I forced a chuckle, attributing it to the pre-scan chill that always seemed to seep into the room. But as I retreated to the control room, the disquiet lingered. Glancing back at the MRI suite, I saw Sarah's form swallowed by the machine's gaping maw, an unsettling sense of foreboding washing over me. Whispers in the machine. The initial scans proceeded normally. Sarah's vitals remained steady on the monitor, the rhythmic beeps a counterpoint to the machine's low whine. Yet the unease refused to abate. It tightened around my chest like a vice constricting my breath. Then it started. Faint whispers at first, mere wisps of sound weaving through the static of the MRI. I strained to hear, my brow furrowed in concentration. The whispers grew louder, coalescing into disjointed phrases, murmurs of malice dancing on the edge of comprehension. Panic clawed at my throat. Was I hallucinating? Had the stress of the job finally gotten to me? But as I looked toward the MRI suite, my blood ran cold. Sarah's eyes, wide with terror, were fixed on the empty space above the machine. Her lips moved, mouthing silent pleas, her face contorted in a mask of abject horror. Shadows in the coils. I lunged for the emergency stop button, my heart hammering against my ribs. The machine shuddered to a halt, plunging the room into an eerie silence. Sarah scrambled out, her eyes wild, her breath ragged. "Did you see them?" she gasped, her voice trembling. "The shadows in the machine. They touched me." I searched the room, my gaze darting frantically. Nothing. There was nothing there but the sterile walls and the hulking form of the MRI. Yet, Sarah's terror was palpable, raw and undeniable. For the first time, I truly saw the machine. Not as a marvel of medical technology, but as a monstrous contraption, its metallic coils humming with an otherworldly energy. The once comforting hum now sounded like a malevolent chant, the rhythmic beeps a mocking metronome counting down to some unseen horror. We fled the radiology department that night, Sarah clinging to my arm, her whispered pleas echoing in the sterile corridors. The technicians we passed looked at us with a mixture of pity and amusement, dismissing our tale as the overactive imaginations of sleep-deprived doctors. But I knew the truth. The MRI machine held a darkness within its metallic heart, a malevolent hunger that preyed on the vulnerable. And Sarah, with her unwitting intrusion, had awakened it. Now the whispers follow me, slithering through the sterile halls of the hospital, a constant reminder of the horror that lurks within the machine's cold embrace. And every time I pass the radiology department, I see not the reassuring glow of the MRI suite, but the inky blackness of a portal to a nightmare, waiting to consume the next unsuspecting soul.
In the subterranean depths of the hospital, where the living seldom tread, a forgotten room holds the key to a spectral narrative. The morgue, a repository for the departed, became a stage for unexplained disturbances that defied the laws of the tangible. A night shift security guard, tasked with ensuring the tranquility of the hospital's nocturnal slumber, discovered an abandoned morgue hidden within the labyrinthine basement. As he entered the cold room, the flickering lights and ghostly echoes enveloped him in an otherworldly embrace. The spirits of the departed, their ethereal forms lingering in the quiet corners, beckoned the guard into the realm where the echoes of past lives intermingled with the present. The thin veil between the living and the departed dissipated, leaving an indelible mark on the guard's perception of the hospital's silent underbelly. Join me, fearless wanderers, as we navigate the subterranean depths of the hospital's forgotten morgue, where the boundary between life and the afterlife becomes a tapestry of ghostly whispers and unseen apparitions. In the hallowed halls of the hospital, where the pulse of life meets the fragility of existence, a tale of spectral rounds unfolds. Imagine, if you will, a group of medical interns on night duty, witnesses to an otherworldly phenomenon that transcends the realms of the ordinary. As the clock struck the witching hour, ghostly remnants of doctors, long gone from the realm of the living, materialized to continue their eternal rounds. The ethereal physicians reviewed charts, discussed cases, and even nodded approvingly at the young interns. Attempts to interact with the apparitions resulted in chilling encounters, leaving the medical professionals questioning the sanctity of the hospital's nighttime hours. The thin veil between the living and the departed, once thought impenetrable, revealed itself as a permeable boundary within the sacred halls of healing. Within the vertical confines of a hospital's elevator, a peculiar tale takes root. A story of an elevator that seemingly led to a floor that defied all known maps and blueprints. Employees spoke in hushed tones about an old elevator that, when summoned to the upper floors, would continue its ascent beyond the planned destinations. Maintenance workers, tasked with servicing the mysterious floor, found themselves in a surreal environment. Flickering lights, ghostly echoes, and a sense of displacement greeted them as they ventured into the unknown. The hospital's administration, perplexed by reports of a phantom floor, denied the existence of such a space. Yet the whispers of the phantom elevator persisted, leaving employees and curious souls wary of the unseen forces that manipulated the vertical transport within the hospital's walls. Picture this. I was the night archivist, the keeper of whispers and dust bunnies in the hospital's labyrinthine record room. Fluorescent lights buzzed like trapped hornets, casting long shadows across the towering shelves crammed with patient histories. It was a monotonous gig, all right. The kind that lulled you into a coma of paper cuts and stapler jams. But then, the whispers started. Barely audible at first, like phantoms rustling through case files. Then, the shadows shifted, danced on the walls, as if choreographed by unseen hands. And the files. Oh, the files. They'd waltz across the shelves, folders flipping open to stare at me with blank, accusing eyes. One night, it went full-blown horror movie. The air turned glacial, prickling my skin with goosebumps the size of grapes. A mournful cry echoed through the room, a woman's voice choked with anguish. I spun around, heart hammering against my ribs, but the shelves stood empty, bathed in the cold, sterile glow of the fluorescents. Except they weren't completely empty. On the top shelf, tucked amidst the manila folders, was a single file unlike any other. It was bound in black leather, the edges worn smooth by unseen fingers. As I reached for it, a bone-chilling draft swept through the room, extinguishing the lights with a hiss. Now, I'm not the bravest soul, but curiosity, that siren of chills, pulled me towards the darkness. I fumbled for my phone, its weak flashlight the only beacon in the inky blackness. When I aimed it at the file, its inscription sent a shiver down my spine. Jane Doe, case unsolved. With trembling fingers, I cracked it open. The pages were blank, except for a single sentence, scrawled across the first page in blood-red ink. They can't erase us, not forever. That's when the shadows swarmed, tendrils of darkness coiling around the shelves, reaching for me with spectral fingers. I trip it over a fallen folder, the phony skittering across the floor, plunging me into absolute darkness. Panic clawed at my throat, the icy air thick with the stench of decay. Then, as suddenly as it started, the cold vanished. The lights flickered back on, and the shadows retreated to the corners, sullen and silent. The black file lay open on the floor, the pages blank once more. I scrambled to my feet, heart pounding a frantic tattoo against my ribs. The only evidence of the terror was the file, a chilling reminder of the restless souls trapped within those sterile walls. I fled the record room that night. Thanks for joining me on this chilling journey through the haunted archives. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you want to hear more creepy tales from hospitals and beyond, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. You won't regret it. What did you think of the haunted files? Do you believe in ghosts? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to ring that bell for all the latest spooky updates.